What's up, everyone? This is ND Sean 45.
And this is George Bashura once again in for the magnificent Ben.
And together, the two of us make up this edition of the Two Irish Brothers Show. I like that description of Ben right there, George. That was awesome.
On the fly. It's what we
Now,
do best.
yes, exactly. On the fly is the best way to do things. But first things first, people, you know the drill. If you haven't done it yet, make sure you hit that subscribe tab in the bottom right-hand corner, and also make sure to like or dislike this video because apparently, like I've said before, in a weird way, it does help the algorithm for our videos to get out there more. And also, as usual, as we've been helping them promote this, make sure you guys, as you see at the scrolling at the bottom of the screen, Irv Smith, former Notre Dame tight end, he has a package that he has put together for Notre Dame Navy next year in Ireland. And for all you golfers out there, you make sure especially to check it out because he has included some rounds of golf in there as well. So if you're going to be going to Ireland but not sure how to get there, that package just might be for you. So if you check it out and you buy a package, make sure you tell Irv that all of us here at the Two Irish Brothers Show sent you. So with that said, George, we got quite a few things to talk about here and so little time to do it, as Willy Wonka would say. But first things first, we got to give a big shout out to the Notre Dame baseball team. They sure did make one hell of a run at the College World Series, didn't they?
They made some noise. They made their presence known. You come up against some tough teams at the end there, and at that point, you're playing the best of the best. So nothing for them to hang their heads about. They went and they did what they had to do, and unfortunately, they came up a little bit short.
Well, and like we said in the last video that we did talking about it, I mean, when you're in this case the elite 8 teams of college baseball, you're not going to be the only hungry one there. There's going to be 7 other hungry teams that you have to go up against, and it's not going to be easy. Which is why I say to anyone out there who said that this team choked, you don't know what you're talking about and you're full of it. This team played their hearts out.
Pack up your gear and go someplace else.
Exactly. Exactly. And on that note, George, some other big news to go along with the baseball team. And we kind of all saw this coming once the Florida State job became available. But head coach Link Jarrett decided to accept the Florida State head coaching position. And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, he was on contract, I believe, through 2026, and he committed to those kids, to their parents in their living room, okay, about being their coach, and they commit to Notre Dame baseball. But like everything else, it's easy for a coach to walk away. And now the one thing that you haven't heard really being talked about is who's going to walk away. What recruits are going to not come and play for Notre Dame, and they're going to decommit, or which ones are going to enter the transfer portal, you know. So it kind of hurts, I could tell you what, Florida State University. I told this guy, Chris Heidel, the other guy that I do a show with. I'm like, well, looks like you guys are going to the College World Series in 2 years. That's Link Jarrett was an absolute phenomenal coach, and I don't know, it's a bitter taste in your mouth after you go so far with the guys, you get them committed, and then the next day you find out, oh, by the way, no, I'm leaving.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder I'm not just talking about Link Jarrett here. I mean, I talk about this about any coach from any sport.
Absolutely.
It makes you wonder if this was a last minute thing or if this is a discussion that has been going on with said coach and that team that he's leaving for or that school
Well,
that he's leaving for.
those decisions don't happen overnight.
No, I wouldn't think
Those
so.
are not overnight to scope. And see, this is where I struggle with the NCAA. Okay, I'm going to lay it out there like I typically do. Okay,
Go
you
right ahead. I
don't
wouldn't expect anything less.
you don't want you don't allow tampering. Okay, I mean, in pro sports they don't allow tampering with players. They don't allow tampering with coaches, and the NCAA, you know, it's a free for all,
Yeah.
and I think for someone to go and ask a coach who's in the middle of a streak of having a tremendous season, taking his team to the College World Series, allowing an outside person or an outside agency to come in and disrupt that, it's brutal. I don't know if I play hard for a guy that I knew was going to leave. It's kind of it's kind of wrong. It's like
Right.
lying. It's lying to your men. How can they trust you? But
Yeah,
it's
I
allowed in the
agree.
NCAA that these outside conversations can happen.
Well, I would, as a play, as I can't speak from experience, but I would like to think as a player in that situation, if you know for sure your coach is leaving, which I don't know if the team did or not, but if let's say hypothetically they did, then in that situation you're playing for yourself.
Yeah,
You
you're not
you
playing for
you
the
can you can
coach.
you continue to play hard. You continue to play for yourself, and hopefully a scout's there and notices something good that you do, and you get to advance your career to the next level.
Like I said, you heard this was the quietest thing that you heard. It was kind of like the exit of the other former football coach we had. All of a sudden, that got sprung up and on in the middle of him preparing for his team to go to, finish their season and then go on to the postseason.
Yeah,
You know,
at that time, possibly the playoffs, but we knew
yeah,
a New Year's Six bowl for sure.
sure. So the NCAA needs to put something in place that you cannot have a discussion with a coach during a regular season. I don't care about when things are going to happen with signings and stuff. That stuff has already happened in these cases. Okay, you're messing with a team and its chemistry in the
Yeah,
middle of an important run.
and
Period.
and in addition to this, George, you wanted to talk some about who the possible Notre Dame baseball coach replacement is going to be, and you had some
Yeah.
interesting things to tell me before we went on the air here, or started
So
recording, I should say, since we're not live.
it was actually very interesting because they interviewed said former coach during the College World Series. Paul Maneri was in watching the game, up there in Nebraska, and he was interviewed by ESPN. And they didn't necessarily talk about him coming back to Notre Dame, but they had talked to him about, hey, are you thinking about coming out of retirement to coach? Would you think about that? And the struggle is, I understand he was the coach at Notre Dame for a long period of time, and then he left. Okay, but there's reasons why people leave programs. Okay, I'm not so sure that you go back to something that you let go.
No,
It's
it's
not a good recipe.
well, there's a reason that he left. Anor was fired the first time around, and the chance for it, for them changing the recipe, adding something else to it, is not in that scenario. It's not very likely.
Um, there's history. Okay, there's history about coaches that that go back to a team. Okay, and the one that sticks out in my head is UConn. Okay, UConn football. Okay, they let their coach go. He almost did the same thing. He leaves his team on the tarmac and says, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to coach at Maryland." Okay, Randy Etzel.
Yep, I
I'm
remember
going to
him.
coach at Maryland, and then they bring him back, and then the he makes some comments about retiring, and they're like, "Well, guess what? Seeing that you've mentioned something, we're just going to let you go now." So,
Bye bye.
and the team did not improve in that second tenure
No,
for those quick couple a year and a half or something like that. So, I don't understand why even the university would even question or even put out there that they're considering going back to Paul Maneri and ask him if he's interested.
maybe
I said this before. Notre Dame doesn't do what's bad for Notre Dame. I have to rescind that. In this case, going out there and talking to Paul Maneri about the Notre Dame job is a big mistake.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna to replace somebody like Link Jarrett, who it really is a good coach, knows what he's doing, and just for the record, with Link Jarrett, I can understand him. Florida State's his alma mater. I get that, but like you said, it all comes back to who you committed to and all these young men that you committed to. But yeah, I mean, in a situation like this, you want to go up, not down. This
Yeah,
is where you can get some fresh blood in there.
yeah. Well, and I guess I'm catching up on some reading here really quick. And he's saying that he's not ready to come back into the sport. Okay.
Okay.
But 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 the thought and to even put any mention of it out there to me is just not a healthy mix.
Yeah, because
It's not
you
what the
don't
program needs. You
you
know what the
don't
program
think
needs, Sean?
what's that?
The program needs a stadium. It needs an upgrade. Okay?
Yeah.
If they had upgraded that stadium and they had done the things that Link had probably asked for them to do, I think he stays. But once again, I think there's a problem here, and it's not football, it's not something else, okay? You need respect for all your sports on campus, okay?
Yes.
Baseball could be a cash cow if it's done right.
I agree. I
Look at
agree.
these
It really
stadiums
could.
in the South. Notre Dame is the only team from the Northeast, okay, that was in the College World Series. One that's saying something for that team who can't really practice on their own field because of the damn frost,
No.
in the late winter, early spring. They end up having to do this huge travel because you can't play on the field until April, okay? You got to build the stadium. You got to give it the upgrade, and then you're going to fill 3 times the amount of people that you can currently hold in there.
Yeah, and it's not like this is Notre Dame we're talking about. It's not like from where I live here. It's not like nearby Division III Augustana.
It's not
No,
Bethel University down the street from me.
yes, you have the money to put into this. And believe me, George, I know what you're talking about. I played baseball through high school, and I know what it's like in the wintertime taking ground balls off of gymnasium floors and all that. It sucks. It's a bad feel. It kind of messes your game up.
Well, if they have a beautiful indoor practice place, they share the indoor complex with lacrosse and a few other sports. Okay, softball, whatever. But it is not the fact that they can't play till April. The thing is, for them to go as deep as they did and how they have to get there, it's night and day. This team
Yeah.
deserved better, and they deserve a bigger stadium. Period. Sorry.
Yeah, and it's all right. It's all right. It's frustrating. It really is frustrating. And think of the most significant stadium example, like what you were just talking about. I don't know how many people realize this, but we almost lost Newt Rockne back in the day to USC if we didn't get a new stadium.
I
He,
was actually going to allude to that, to his rant, to his thing that he threatened to leave, and then they build the stadium. Surprisingly,
yeah, and unfortunately, it turned out to be the only season he ever coached in the stadium.
yep.
Um,
Unfortunately,
But
yep.
Newt Rockne, he was on his way to USC if he didn't get that stadium. And okay, the administration wised up and they like, all right, let's get the stadium built right now. We don't want to lose our coach.
Well, I'll tell you what. They waited too long. They've built and built and built other things. They've built buildings upon buildings, taking away parking lots, making it more difficult to park on the campus, and it's got to come to a point where you're putting something back into your sports. If you're going to
Yes.
bring in players, you're going to bring in student athletes, give them a venue, give them something like you have for the stadium. Okay, let it be a modernized relic, of what can be done with a baseball stadium. I mean, when you look at it, hindsight, where these guys are going to go, they're going to go down south where they have these big stadiums, right?
Yeah.
And where they have 3 times the fans.
and they can play year round. So I mean, it's hard. It's tough competition all the way around. Facilities, weather, all of that. So yeah,
Well,
I hear where you're coming from 100% on that, George, and I agree with you.
the university dropped the ball on this one, pun intended.
Yeah, air one.
E1,
Yep,
exactly.
E1. Yep. So moving on, George. I'm sure people weren't expecting us to talk about for baseball this long, but this is all Notre Dame, not just football, people. But we got some football news to talk about as well. So Marcus Freeman, he stays hot on the recruiting trail. But first things first, as a lot of people have been talking about this already, we now have, I wouldn't say a question mark at the running back core, but there's definitely some concern because with the injury that Jadarian Price just suffered, he's out for the season, an Achilles injury. And then we have Logan Diggs out with a shoulder injury. I've heard that he possibly could be back before the start of the season, but it's looking like he will be injured into the start of the regular season. So that leaves us with only three scholarship running backs on the depth chart. Of course, Chris Tyree being number one, Audric Estime being number two, and then it's a good thing I have my stuff brought up here because the last guy's name I forgot. Freshman Jabron Payne.
Yep.
Awesome last name though. I love that last name, Payne.
Bring the pain.
Yeah, bring the pain. So we now have all of a sudden gotten very thin at running back, and
who's your first game on the schedule?
Ohio State.
Yeah.
So yeah, that the concern is definitely there now. I mean, I do have faith in Chris Tyree, and of course we've seen a little bit of Audric Estime at the end of last year, and he looked pretty good. But man, I'm not exactly sure what to expect now. I'm not sure how to feel about it.
It's next man up before the season even starts.
Yeah. That's like the first time I've ever had to say that. but no, we've got Chris Tyree, who hasn't exactly been the feature guy, but we know what he can do. He has a speed. He can break away for a touchdown at any minute. Audric Estime, I mean, I remember seeing his debut game, and I think it was Georgia Tech last season. He looked very sharp. Granted, it was Georgia Tech, and they weren't very good. I get that. But this Jabron Payne, can't say anything about him because we haven't seen him in action yet. He hasn't even taken a single snap. But all I know is we got to have these guys step up. Now, if Logan Diggs is able to return before the start of the season, great.
But you know they're going to watch him carefully. It's going to be on an as needed basis.
Oh, to start the season in that scenario, absolutely, I agree.
Yep.
So, yeah, I guess that there's really not much more that needs to be said about that, except that this is a very unfortunate circumstance.
It's brutal. It's brutal because you want to go into the season with everyone healthy. You don't want to give your freshman an inability to be a redshirt freshman, right? You want to be able to offer him a redshirt if available, but you may have to go and use his services. Being thin, they typically run two quarterbacks a game, two or three running backs a game. So
yeah.
So now you become, holy crap! Where can we pull from that we can get a running back from someplace within our lineup? That's got to be the next question.
Find somebody in a frat house. I was reading an article that this actually, I forget who it was from, but there was an article that came out recently that was suggesting to solve this problem that maybe Notre Dame should bring back the fullback spot and put one of the tight ends there, since they don't have a designated fullback.
I would love to see something like that. Why not?
Well, if it helps spread out the carries and we can secure some health, which I know football is not a game where you can guarantee health, but if it can spread things around, I'm all for it. So if they could put something together on the fly involving the fullback, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that myself. So why not?
Oh, it's incredible. It's not even the fall. It's not even It's not even camp time yet, and we're talking about injuries. It's just not a good thing.
No, no, you don't want to hear about injuries in the off season. It's worse when they happen in the off season because it makes you wonder, like, could it have been avoidable? Maybe you're going too hard in practice. I don't know. It could be a number of things.
Well, I mean, I'd have to go do my research. Did it happen on campus? Did it happen off of campus? That's these are all questions.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen the story of how it all happened, but I'd like to think it was I know Logan Diggs was in spring practice. Jadarian Price, I'm not sure if it was a workout or just what, because obviously they're not allowed to practice right now
Right.
of any kind.
Something happened someplace, and it's not good.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference at this point in time. You just sit there and question it. Why?
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. So getting on the recruiting news a little bit. So the last video we talked, you and I talked about, well, actually the live stream we did, not episode.
Yep.
You and I talked about, Logan Diggs and CJ Carr at quarterback. Ben and I talked about it the video before that. Some interesting news. So first off, unfortunately, Ohio State has overtaken us at number one for the number one recruiting class in 2023. But yeah, I mean, it's done on the field, not in the recruiting rankings.
Yep.
But I was just gonna say though, when you get the number 1, 2, and 3 wide receivers in the class, that's going to happen. But that's the thing: three guys alone aren't going to win games for you. You got to have the whole team. But that's just, I'm not going to start on cliche speeches here.
The stars come out on the field, not when they're next to them in high school.
Yes. I mean, you can have all the stars next to your name in the world, but if it doesn't translate into performance on the field, then, well, we all get the point on that. But
let's go back and re-rate that. Let's go re-rate those rankings after they perform on the field.
I would like that. That's a good idea. I'd love to see that.
Absolutely. And then you think about how many 4-star recruits make it to the Super Bowl. You find out more times than not, there's not a lot of 4 and 5-star players in the Super Bowl. So it's just a bunch of hooey. And
well, how many first round picks have we seen just bust out completely?
Oh,
I mean, for
plenty.
me, the big one being a Bears fan, Cade McNown.
Was it Eric Leaf?
Ryan Leaf.
I saw him once when I was on I was actually down at the college football playoff down in Dallas. I was actually in the elevator with him.
Did he have a rage on you in the elevator?
He had a look.
What'd you do to piss him off?
I just think that was natural.
Just being there, being in his presence.
It was just, yeah, it was really weird.
So getting back on topic here.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I love those little stories. They're great. So the whole quarterback situation with us on the recruiting trail. So CJ Carr verbally commits to us. Yep. Hopefully he's still here in 2024. We all know the story with that. The future with Dante Moore is not looking so good because he'd be for the 2023 class. So who knows what's going to happen with that. But I saw an interesting article today, and we were talking about this before we started recording the show here. But it looks like a 2023 commit from Baylor is interested in coming to the Irish. And that is quarterback Austin Novosad. And George, where's he from? I know you like the name of his town.
Dripping Springs, Texas.
Dripping Springs, Texas. We were having a few laughs with that one right there before the show. But, yeah, Austin Novosad said that he would like to see the Irish reach out because he's now gotten offers from Ohio State and Texas, according to this article. Says that he is looking at some other schools that don't have a quarterback as these dominoes continue to fall, since our uncertainty for a quarterback in next year's class is not looking too good unless CJ reclassifies. But I found this very interesting that this quarterback is basically asking us to reach out.
Well, and that's interesting. Like you said, he's a quote unquote, according to 24/7 Sports, as a hard commit for Baylor. Okay, he's committed. Um, he's warm on Ohio State and he's warm on Texas A&M. Okay, nowhere on this page does it even mention the University of Notre Dame. Okay, he's received an offer from Colorado and from Houston. Okay, but I guess he's gone public and said, "Hey, I would love to see Coach Freeman come out and recruit me." You got to give the kid a look at least, right?
Yeah. Well, at this point in time right now, as we're doing this video, we don't have a quarterback for the 2023 class. It'd be nice to have one, like one guaranteed, because we don't know if Dante Moore is still going to be there or not. It's not. It's looking pretty. I don't know. Let's just say there's a black cloud over that. I mean, he's not gone yet, but I mean, the CJ Carr signing that changed a lot of the direction that we were going in.
Oh, interesting. Let me interrupt you for a second.
Breaking news, folks, on the Two Irish Brothers show.
Yeah, right. Well, he has 16 offers. So from that list I already gave you, Colorado, I said Colorado, University of Houston, Kansas, Louisiana Tech, Rice, SMU, Stanford, TCU, Texas State, Texas Tech, UTSA, Vandy. Now we all know who went to Vanderbilt.
Jay Cutler,
Coach Lee.
That's true.
Former defensive coordinator. Okay.
Yes, he did.
Washington State and Nevada. So it's interesting. He's got that list, and from all of those, he's asking for Notre Dame to give him an offer.
Exactly.
He's like, it sounds to me, if you have a chance for a flip, you're going.
Now, the article that I have up here, it doesn't list how many stars, and I know we just talked about the stars, but what star recruit is he? Okay, four star.
Yep, 4 stars.
So you got a 4-star quarterback, which I know we're inconsistent with the stars thing. We talk about that it's not a big deal. But then we're talking about, now we are focusing on it. I know someone's going to probably mention that, but
it's not that you're mentioning it. All you're doing is mentioning the article. All you're giving is the stats that they have on the kid, 6'3", 185. You get him into camp, you put a little bit of muscle on him, muscle weight on him. Hey.
Well, yeah, in that case, if that's the thing. If he's asking you, "Hey, come check me out," give the kid a look. And
someone's not happy with his verbal commit.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now, if ethically, what I would say is to Baylor is thank you, right? These are the quotes the guys use. Thank you for the interest, but I'm reopening my
recruitment.
Okay. First of all, that's the ethical thing to do, right? So everyone else has a free chance to go do that. If he goes and does that, absolutely. Now, the interesting part was he only visited Baylor on June 17th. Okay?
Yeah.
He didn't even visit the other 2 schools. Only schools he's visited is Baylor and Ohio State. How do you mean if you thought it was right on June 17th, 12 days later, what are you doing? What are you doing? He visited his first visit was on June 17th, and he committed on December 16th. Okay? Maybe you should wait till you visit to go commit.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be best if you see the campus where you're going to be living, where you're going to be playing, where you're going to school at, everything that comes with it,
If you have a feel for Notre Dame and this is what you want, open up your recruitment. Put yourself back out on the market. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and if I'm Marcus Freeman, I at least give this kid a look. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You you find out that maybe he's not a fit, maybe he doesn't fit your scheme. Okay, but at least give the kid a look.
Hey,
So I found
you're going to get yourself a chance.
exactly. So I found that very interesting that we have a recruit pretty much not begging, but like insisting that we take a look at him, because it sounds like he's on board with what Freeman wants to do at Notre Dame, and he hasn't even talked to Freeman yet. So I just thought that was an interesting article. But no, Marcus Freeman, he is. I think the recruiting trail is going to continue to heat up from what I'm seeing. Obviously, we have in a half hour your time, George, at 8:00 Eastern time, wide receiver Cam Williams from the 2024 class. He's going to announce his decision. Big talks that he could be heading our way. But we also have a couple other. I don't know the names right off the top of my head, but they're definitely big positions of need. We have a couple of receivers, an offensive lineman, a couple of defensive backs in the next week or 2 weeks or so that it's looking really good for us that they're going to come to South Bend.
Well, and like we talked last time, Coach Freeman has a way about him, and it's got a lot of folks turning their heads, in a positive way, and taking a look, taking to see what the future is going to hold. It's going to be very interesting. I hope things pan out very well for Coach, because, as we said, the fan base can be pretty tough around here. The honeymoon could be over really, really quick, and we learned that after the New Year's Six game.
Oh shoot, there were people in our fan base calling Marcus Freeman a failure after that one game. And that they all it seems like so many of our fans, they have a crystal ball, they can just project how he's going to do. You can't project squat.
Well, maybe the flip side of this, now you're thinking about hindsight being 2020. Maybe part of all the negative talk in the fan base, maybe that was caused Link Jarrett to say, I don't want to be here. People don't know about the actions of what they do or say. And to me, it would be a huge turnoff.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe that played a factor into it.
Well, George, you've heard me mention this before. I mean, going back to, and I'm not bringing it up for this reasons, but when you have all this negativity on campus, or amongst, not necessarily on campus, but amongst the fan base, like people getting upset that we make the playoffs in football, or
taking out full ads in the South Bend Tribune saying that the program's a disgrace.
I didn't see that. Wow.
After their 4-8 season, some group of fans took out a full-page ad in the South Bend Tribune calling the program a disgrace.
Wow. I mean, I guess if they're paying their money, you have to put it in there, but well, actually, no, you could have said no. The South Bend Tribune could have said no.
South Bend Tribune's going to take that money in a heartbeat.
Well, yeah, yeah, exactly. But you got stuff like that. You got the selling your tickets to big games. But my point of bringing that stuff up, which I know I've brought up a bunch of times, you think that recruits aren't going to notice that? You think potential coaching hires aren't going to notice that?
All the time.
These things that you think are so little really are not so little.
I wrote an article on it, Sean, years ago when I wrote under a different name. I wrote about it. If I was a parent, I wouldn't send my kid to the school. If I was considering, sending my kid there, I would say no. If I was a coach, I'd be like, no, I don't want to go there and be in front of this. They're ungrateful.
Yeah. If you're going to be ungrateful and be nothing but negative, even when good things happen, but even when those good things happen, they're not good enough. I mean, as I've said a million times, that Rose Bowl against Alabama in that month leading up to the game, I've never heard the word realist more in my life.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to change the environment too. But I think Marcus Freeman, he could definitely be a very refreshing recipe to change that. But we'll have to wait. But we'll have to wait and see, though. I mean, some people are never going to change no matter what happens. I mean, like
Well,
we could win a national championship in every single sport for several years to come, and people still won't care.
no one be. I mean, I'm going to put it. I'm going to take this from the media perspective, Sean. Notre Dame goes and wins a national championship, right? All those so-called fans, okay, are going to be like, "Yes, we finally won our national championship." No, the football team won their national championship. Okay,
Exactly.
now what happens the year after that Notre Dame doesn't win the national championship? Know what it does? It's going to go right back to the way it is.
Now this team sucks. They're not going to win the
Absolutely.
game. They
Sean,
don't have a chance.
mark my word. You heard it here today, June 29th, 2022. Okay? I'm not saying it's going to be this year, but Notre Dame wins a national championship. The following season, they fall short. It's going to be right back to the same old thing. It'll be right back at it.
Yeah,
Because you can't, there's no way that you can satisfy that ego.
no. Nope. And I really wasn't trying to get on one of my rants about, all the fans selling their tickets and that kind of stuff. I really wasn't trying to. But the point is, and it's very relevant to what we're talking about here, is that negativity is seen by prospects and coaches.
And it's
And
seen by the
that's something the
parents.
fans
It's
that's something
seen
the
by the
fans need to
parents of
be.
those prospects.
Yes. The parents too.
Yep.
The parents too, because they're the ones wanting the best future for their kids as possible. And if you want to have your teams win championships and be at the top every year, then you need to change how you think as a fan.
Support them.
Yes, support them unconditionally. I mean, are you gonna stop loving your child because they don't do well at something? Like maybe they fail a test at school one time, or they get in trouble. No,
Well, there are
you're not.
whoa. There are those parents, by the way. If their
Yeah.
kids don't bring home A's on the report card, there's punishment.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. No, there are, but I'd like to think the majority of parents would be
Yes.
what I described.
Is it right? Absolutely not.
No, it's not. It's absolutely it's
It's the
wrong.
same
And
exact thing. You're living your life through your kid. They're not living it for themselves.
well, I'll put it to you this way. Myself, I'm not a college grad. I only went to a community college for one semester, and that was it. I mean, I pretty much went straight to work out of high school. But a buddy of mine, his girlfriend had parents that basically told her that if you don't get straight A's and if you don't go to college of any sort, you're going to fail at life. And I just think that stuff is so wrong.
I'm not going to share my story with you online, but we'll talk about my story offline.
Okay, George, that's fine.
No, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. And this is why I take the stand that I do. Okay? Things happen for reasons, and sometimes it works out for you later in life. I was a much better student in college in my master's program than I was in high school. But that was for circumstances, okay?
Yeah.
And to call your kid a failure, to call someone a failure because they're not living up to your standard or whatever, that's not the way it should be.
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, with that said, George, I think we've covered everything that we set out to cover for this particular episode. Is there anything else that you? Yeah, I think we did good too. Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
I just say, folks, it's just starting to get hot here. So as the heat rises, and as we turn the calendar to July, I'm not rushing my summer along anytime soon. But folks have started to count down the days to Notre Dame football. Okay, as much as I love covering the Irish and doing that stuff, I'm not rushing my summer. So sorry, folks, I can't give you how many days till the first Notre Dame game, but I could tell you it's only a couple months away.
It's like 67, 68 days. You know what? You're gonna think I'm nuts, George, and everybody watching, you're gonna think I'm nuts too. I actually like the fall better than the summer.
I do too, but the thing is, I get my daughter home for a couple weeks, and they're not off running to school. So
That well, that's
I get a full house, and we get to go do a couple fun things as a family. So I
well, that's an
I,
experience that I can't speak on.
I enjoy my summers, and I actually just like the I like long I love the fall myself, but I love seeing that sunset in the sky at 10 o'clock at night too.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I will admit that. Just it gets just summer's just too damn hot for me. It's not the same for me from when I was a kid and we got school off for 3 months and I could do whatever and yeah. But I'm not gonna rant and rave about that. So with that said, everyone, um, for this episode of the Two Irish Brothers, which this possibly could be a two-parter since we're over 40 minutes. Signing off here. I am Mendy Sean 45.
And I'm George sitting in for the magnificent Ben.
And thank you all for watching. And as we always say, God bless, good night, and go
Go
Irish.
Irish.